Hi, Jennifer Stewart here, and I'm happy to have with me today Vibha Arora as part of my iShine Bright series. So she is sharing so many things that are so close to my heart. So I'm so excited to chat. She is the Shifting Perspectives Coach. She's a certified positive discipline and conscious parenting facilitator. She has her master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and has taught positive discipline for over 10 years. That's a long time. And is the proud founder and owner of her own coaching business where she supports parents and couples and individuals and kids with discovering the key shifts to unlock their limitless possibilities to follow their heart and find truth, inner wisdom, connection, and purpose. Oh, I love that. That is all totally what I'm focusing on with this series, is tuning into ourselves and learning how to block out all those voices that are constantly chattering and follow our heart. So how are you doing today, Vibha?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
I am glad to have you. I know we're going to have an amazing chat today. So I always like to ask the question, what got you started on this journey of sharing with the parents about positive discipline and conscious parenting, which always sounds like this big topic, right? And how'd you begin?
Well, I think, gosh, the easiest answer is I became a mom. And I realized really quickly, there's no, nobody tells us how to parent. There's no real guidebook. I mean, there's plenty of parenting books, but I realized I was trying to find my own style in that. And, I went through my own evolution of kind of figuring out what was working and what wasn't. And then I happened to see a positive discipline parenting class offered in the school district that we were in at the time. And it was a 6-week class and it changed my life. And I just realized that I need to share this with other people. So that's kind of where it all began for positive discipline. My kids were very young at the time. I think my daughter was maybe 6 and my son was probably 3. And then it wasn't until way later, until about 3 years ago, that I discovered conscious parenting. And that just fit so beautifully with positive discipline that it was like the perfect 2 wings of this butterfly of transformation, and decided I needed to share it with everyone I possibly could.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yes, for sure. Parenting is such a humbling journey, right? We learn so much that we thought we knew before we had kids. You're judging those other people with children out at the grocery store or the playground. And before you have your own kids, what you would do about that situation. And then you have your own kids, you're like,
right.
Oh, let's throw all
now
that.
I get it.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. And I think that's so true for parents who are brand new with their first child, is they're slowly letting go of those preconceived ideas. So
well, it's interesting too, because I think it's so much more than just first child, because first child, I was like, okay, now I get it. And then the second one comes along and you're like, what is this? They're stellar opposite. The universe has a very interesting sense of humor. You don't get the same thing twice. Even twins and triplets and stuff, it's every kid is takes you on such a different journey of growth and figuring it all out over again,
Yes. No, that is so true, because I have 3 kids and they're all totally different, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've been running a preschool now for about 10 years, and I will get siblings that will come in from the same family, and it is so amazing to see same parents, same everything, but totally different child.
Right.
Yeah, no, it is so true.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Wild. Yeah.
So much learning going on. Yes. And so, and I wanted to chat with you definitely about connection and parenting, because I think that there is this idea out there. I know there's this idea out there about how to get kids to behave and to listen, and that we need to be forceful and we need to deal with it right now. But I know that you have learned, and that you share with people, that there's a much better way to reach our kids than to be the bad cop,
Yeah. I totally get it. I mean, look, as a society, I think culturally conditioned, we're supposed to have control of our kids. And I think that gets drummed into parents very early on that you should have control of your kids. But the fact of the matter is that we don't have control of our kids or anybody else because it's not, it's a total illusion that you can actually have control. But I think we want everything so instantaneously. Like it needs to be done yesterday. There is no, like we're just such on a fast pace right now that it makes sense that the quickest action to correct a behavior would be punishment,
Right.
or yelling or screaming or consequences of some sort
Yeah.
that kind of jolt the kid or scare the kid, right? And
Makes them
that
quiet,
worked with us.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what our parents did. And, I guess it worked. But the fact of the matter is that there's a different way. And I think positive discipline, the reason I love it so much is that it really forces you to look at the bigger picture. And it's all about long-term parenting and not the short term. It's not about this very instant. It's about who this child is growing into, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot deeper, and it's frustrating for some parents because it does take time. It
Yeah.
really does. Um, so that's kind of, and connection we have found, that's one of the pillars of positive discipline, that without connection, you really can't have any type of correction. So you've got to start there.
Yeah, no, I love that because I think that that's so it's so true because you feel like when you're in the moment, whether you're out in public trying to go out to dinner or you're anywhere trying to be and your child's not cooperating, I think you feel like everybody's watching and so you feel like you need to do
Yeah,
something right there. I'm going to correct this
yeah,
behavior. They're going to stop this, and sure you can take the regular, old school like punishment approach and they might be quiet and they might stop. But are they learning anything besides like mom or dad is scary? Or are they learning how to
yeah,
be, how to
exactly.
grow, right? So yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's so about us. And this is the conscious parenting piece of it, right? It's really, the fine, the kids running around the restaurant or doing whatever the kid is doing. It's about us and our embarrassment, and people are looking at us and people are judging us. And the reason we know that is because we used to be those people, right? As you mentioned
For sure.
earlier. So it's really more about what are people thinking of me right now and how do I show that I'm a good parent. And I think if we can kind of readjust the lens and kind of shift the perspective from trying to prove to everyone else that we are a good parent and actually just being a good person,
Yeah.
it really is going to make things a whole lot different.
Oh, I love that because if we could create a whole community around that, that it's okay that a child's having a fit. They're right. They're a kid. They're upset. They wanted the candy bar, whatever it was,
Right.
and that's
Right.
part of life. And to not put the pressure on each other that we have to like fix it right then and there, but that we can work on the relationship and growing the child in the long term. I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
And so what are some ways that you think parents can learn to like block that out and to not feel all that pressure? Because that's hard. I remember, especially, I work in my community. I raise other people's children, in my preschool, and my kids aren't perfect. They're children. And I would take them out in public and they would have these huge tantrums sometimes. And I'm like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to not worry about everybody, what they're thinking about me, and I'm going to focus on my child. But there were definitely moments when I was worried. I'm a human. I'm not perfect. Yeah. So how do you like
Of course, and we all are. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's easier said than done. But one of the things that for me, I started using as a tool early on with my kids, and I suggest to all my parents, and it's just a simple thing I say is, who do you tuck in at night?
I love it.
Who is the person that really matters? I know all those people at the restaurant are staring at you, and I know that they're judging you, and I also know they're not going home with you. At
Right.
the end of the day, you're not tucking them in, right? It's that relationship with that heart that is your child. That connection matters more than any other stranger's judgment. So if you can kind of keep that at forefront before you leave the house, you know, okay, remember, who do I tuck in at night? I think that's helped me tremendously.
That's beautiful. I love that. Focusing on what is the most important part of all of this. Do we care about all these people that we may never even see again? Right? Or,
Exactly.
yeah, do we care about a
Exactly.
child that
And
we're
if
going to
you
see another one?
do, you know, if you do see them the next week at the restaurant again, what a great conversation starter,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I saw people had a meltdown last week. Yeah, you know, I mean, people get it. People are, if we approach people as humans, like we're all pretty much in the same boat. You know, any parent understands it. They've been there. And what a gift it is for us as parents when we see somebody else struggling to kind of give them the nod or to give them the like, it's okay, right? We need more parents who are not holding the negative judgment and who can give like the support. What a great community that could be.
Definitely. No, I think that would be amazing if we can spread the word more that it's okay. Yeah. And we're trying to connect with our child and not trying to just be, scary and like force them into submission, but actually connect with them and help them grow to
Mhm.
be who they're supposed to be and to learn empathy and caring and kindness. And yes. So
Yeah.
along those lines, I mean, how do you like tell parents who are newer parents or maybe who have their first more challenging child, how do you
Yeah.
connect with your child on a deeper level? Because I think that's really what's at the heart of both positive discipline
Yes.
and conscious parenting is connecting with the child
Absolutely.
to understand them. So how do we
Absolutely.
begin to do that?
So and that's a great question. And I think a lot of people assume that connection means that you're in the same room, you know, and I have parents all the time saying, well, I connect all the time. We, on Thursday nights, we all sit and we watch TV. I'm like, oh, really? That's really cool. So do you talk about the show in the commercial breaks? No, my husband's doing, you know, he's reading the paper and my son's on his iPad and I'm on my phone. That's not connecting, right? So connecting is actually when you're fully present. And the other thing that I think sometimes parents think is connecting is I took my kids grocery shopping, reconnected. Unless your kid really likes grocery shopping, which good for you, but that's not connecting either. Connecting that I'm talking about is really about getting into that child's world. And like we said, every kid is different. So what that may look like is going to be totally different for one child than it is for another.
For sure.
So in my example, you know, I have a son and a daughter, and my son loves video games, of course. And so connecting with him would mean actually getting out the controllers and learning how to play these games, which was challenging and fun, right? For my daughter, it would be something totally different, but it's how do you really get into their world? Whatever's important to them at that stage and, you know, of development, what are they into? That's where you need to make your entry.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful because definitely, I mean, for my kids, doing something different with each of them is definitely the way that I connect with them. Because
Right,
all three of my kids have different loves and passions for sure.
right.
And yeah, if you try to force them to do something just because you like it or the other child likes it, I mean, they might come along just to be, part of the family or be a good sport, but you're not going to be connecting with them. So I love that. I mean, really tuning into like, what is important to their heart, what do they enjoy,
Mhm.
and then it doesn't mean you're going to have to love it too. I mean, maybe you never learned to love
Right,
video games but you
right,
did it with
right.
your son.
But it's also about, right, it's about, like you said, though, like, because each child is different, it's creating that special time. And again, this does take time. You know, if you have more than a child, then it's going to take more time because what I'm thinking of is like 20 to 30 minutes per week per child. That's one-on-one time. Because ultimately, what we know is a lot of our children's behavior, the surface behavior is not really what it's about, right? So you have to go underneath. And at the root of a lot of behavior or misbehavior is attention, the need for attention. And if we can fill that cup with special time on a weekly basis, automatically they're going to have less need to act out to get the attention. So it's all calculated, really, but it makes perfect sense that you need the connection, you need the special time with each kid in order to see, you know, just that tool alone, you'll see a decrease in misbehaviors, in talking back, in fighting with siblings, in not listening, all those things. I'm not saying it's magic, but it's kind of magic.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true because most of the time when there's something going on, a child's misbehaving, as we want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
right? That there's something happening
Yeah.
inside of that child that they're upset about, or they're unhappy about, or they're stressed about. And if
Right.
we can tune into that, like we can see, okay, so the misbehavior is like the check engine light, right? For the car. There's
Yeah.
something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So now we need to diagnose, like, what is wrong? Why are they behaving like that? What is going on? As opposed to, I think, there's been a lot of old school thought that the misbehavior is the issue, and that's the part we need to fix,
Mm,
as opposed to,
right.
yeah, getting deeper and seeing, yeah,
Right.
what is
Well,
causing
and actually in your analogy, I would say that the misbehavior, like you said, is the check engine light. We don't even want to wait for that.
yeah,
Like before you even want to get in the car, you want to make sure like all the fluids are topped off, you're ready to go, right? You
yeah.
don't want to even wait for the check engine light. So that's what filling their cup with attention and special time is doing, so that you never even get to that point.
Yeah, no, I love that, definitely. So being able to, yeah, give them what they need beforehand. And
Exactly.
yes, I mean, that's the same thing we need to do for ourselves as parents, right? We
Yes.
have to fill that up,
Absolutely.
right? So we
Absolutely.
have something to give so we can handle the punches of the day, So our child, when
Mm.
we tell them no, they cannot have that second lollipop or whatever, they know that we love them, and we know that they know that it's not coming out of some like frustration with them. It's no, I mean, that's a lot of sugar.
Sure.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And I think a lot of people, they struggle with that because there's this, idea that we have to fix those behaviors when really, if we can, I
Right.
wish if we could realize if we take a step back and the behavior is just a sign that there's something going on inside. And yeah, and then take a step back and,
Right. And it's an opportunity, from the conscious parenting perspective, every misbehavior or behavior that we see in our child is reflecting something back to us. And it's an opportunity for us to grow and shift. Okay, my kid is whining. Why is that bothering me so much? Why is that triggering? Because the kid is being a kid, but what is it about me that's just driving over the edge, right? And how can I kind of give myself what I need in this moment? Because it's not necessarily something the other person needs to change. It's something I need to adjust. If I'm not liking the whining, I can spend the next 20 minutes saying, stop whining, stop whining, stop whining. Or I could say, you know what? I'm going to go to my room for 5 minutes,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing because definitely, yes, parenting is we learn so much about ourselves for sure. Like what
Yes.
what our triggers are, and it's going to be different for everybody for sure. And yes, then
Mhm.
so what are we going to do with it when there's our child is behaving like you said, like a child. They're having a reaction to
Yeah.
something and they're being a kid. Oh my
Mm.
goodness, they're being a kid. So what can
Right.
we do so we don't also act like a kid? you know?
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
so easy, right? It's so right there. Like our kid is so right there on the surface that if we get a little bit of like, come play with me, we're there. But then we've lost our role as the parent, right? So how do you be the grown up in that situation?
yeah, no, and I love your example of, we can take a moment, like it's okay to say, mommy or daddy
Mhm.
needs 5 minutes. This is too much
Yeah.
for me, the noise you're making or whatever it's making me feel, stressed out or upset, or it's hurting my ears.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just gonna go take a few minutes,
Mhm.
not being like, you're bad and you're wrong, but I'm gonna take care of myself. Yeah, so that's
And
modeling.
that's exactly. 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 And so Dr. Shefali, who's the founder of Conscious Parenting, she said something, I want to say a few months ago, that really hit about this idea of modeling for our children. And she said something I thought that was so profound. It's not even about modeling, it's about embodying, right? It's not just showing you, it's actually living it.
Yeah.
It's actually like, this is who I am. When I get stressed out, I don't yell and scream. I'm embodying that calmness and those tactics that I want to see in the people around me, right? So
Yes.
you're really becoming that. And through your becoming that, your children may or may not follow in it, but you are. And that gives you that sense of peace that you're looking for.
Yeah, but they're so much more likely to follow what we do as opposed to what we tell them to do. Right? I mean, we can talk till we're blue in the face, but they're watching us. You know, they're
all
watching
the time.
our good decisions, our bad decisions, and they're hearing what we say about how we're behaving. So I love that. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like, so just taking care of yourself is showing them that it's okay to take care of yourself. So then they can do the same.
Yeah.
They can be like, Mommy, I'm really
Yes, and to be able to narrate that. Yeah, to be able to explain it, you know, that mom needs some time or dad needs some time to themselves too. Just like, you know, you have play dates, I need a play date. I need to go out with my friends, or I need to go, you know, go to the beach, or I need to read a book, because what that's teaching them is that, like, as much as they might not get this at first, that you're a real life human being, right? And that you're not just mom, you actually have human needs as well. It's kind of like that. I think there's that storybook, you might know it. It's a kid's book about, they think that the teacher like lives at school, Mrs. Nelson or something, right? And they finally discover that she actually is like a real person. It's that same
all teachers
concept.
live in the closet. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. No, that's beautiful. I mean, and that's something they can take with them for their life, even as they grow up to be an adult, right? I mean, if we
Absolutely.
picture, you know, what do we want for our little child, and we want them to grow up to have a beautiful life, right? I mean, that's I think every parent's dream. And so if we can teach them when they're little these skills that they can take and they can be amazing and they can use them when they're older, I mean, that's beautiful. So if we can't be that example, then where are they going to get it from?
Yeah. And I think it's Julie Lidcott Holmes that says, it's easy to raise children, it's difficult to raise adults, right? And that's what positive discipline is all about. It's not about your 5-year-old, it's about your 30-year-old.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And I think it's just, you know, reaching parents to be able to understand that it's okay to not deal with everything harshly right away and to think about the long term. I think that's the overall goal. And it's so hard to do in the moment, right? When we feel those emotions rising in ourselves, and like, of course we want to scream. I mean, who doesn't want to scream when you're frustrated, right? Yeah. but to find like,
and so
yeah.
Right? It takes practice, because it's, like I said at the beginning, you know, this is not something we've done before. You know, parenting is not something that we've had any practice with. It just kind of happens and here you are. So the expectation that you're going to be this perfect parent, or that there is such a thing, or that you're never going to yell, or you're never going to show frustration, that's not realistic. However, if I am consistently working on myself, what I'm teaching my child is, human beings make mistakes and human beings can have do-overs, and we can, you know, we can continue to make progress. That's all it's about. It's about just a little bit each day, taking an extra moment.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that in and of itself is a great lesson too, that everybody makes mistakes and it's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. I'm going to love
what you do after the mistake, right?
Right. And there's unconditional love too. We're going to love you no matter what. You know, whether you know, spill your water, or whether you throw a rock through somebody's window, or you crash the car, you know, I mean, the things that happen, that to give our children that feeling that they're going to be loved no matter what, and to show them that, yeah, like sometimes mom does horrible things too. It makes mistakes. Like it's going to happen. Yes. And we're going to love you either way. No, that's beautiful.
Right.
Definitely.
It's a gift, for sure.
Yeah. And I love that you really stress that parents need to take time to focus on themselves sometimes, because I know, like, when I was a brand new mom, that was something that was really hard for me, because I felt that total mom guilt in the beginning. Like, oh my goodness, if I'm doing something for myself, I'm not giving my child those 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And I would be like, oh, I'm neglecting them somehow. But I know you've addressed that, like that you need to do that.
Yeah, you know, it's counterintuitive, because I don't think that we're taught that as parents. We're not self-care is a kind of, I mean, it's been around forever, but it's kind of buzzwordy right now, and it's really trendy. And I don't think it's necessarily about pedicures and massages, which are all fabulous, but it's about just sense of peace and sense of who you are as an individual. And the way I explain it to clients that I work with, it's like you cannot run a car all over until it has gas in it. Like at some point, you're going to run out of gas. And if you don't stop to fill up, you're not going anywhere. So the soccer practice and the art classes and everything else that you're trying to do for your kids, you're not going because you haven't taken the time to fill up. And so it's really important that we're not only filling our tank, you know, not once in a while, but consistently. I think that that's really important, again, like for our kids to see and to know that that's something that we need to do for ourselves. You know, when they're in college, when they're adults and they're in the real world, are they going to think of mom as the martyr, or, oh yeah, mom really took care of herself, or yeah, you know, dad really took time to do his boys trips or his guys night out or whatever. They need to see that. It's important.
Yes. No, that's so important. And yet I think it's so hard. I mean, I know so many moms like feel bad. They feel guilty when they go to do these things. But I guess maybe if they can even shift it and think like, you know, if they can't think about themselves, then maybe they can think that they're doing it to teach their children and to be a better parent for their children. And I mean, if that's the way you have to start thinking about it, like that's okay.
Exactly.
You know,
maybe start somewhere. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Cause I know, I mean, goodness, I love my mom, you know, but she was definitely more of a martyr. She always felt bad, like doing things for herself, but then she'd be stressed out. So yes, I mean, that's just so important as a parent for sure. And the current thing that that's really been on my heart, you know, a lot of parents that I work with and families that I serve, they have been focusing on a lot about like, all right, my child doesn't fit the mold, you know, that society is saying. So therefore my child is not good. My child is not going to be successful. And it drives me crazy because I'm like, no, maybe your child is not good at those 3 things, but they're good at these 20 other things. Like, let's focus on that. And so I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, that's so important. And it's interesting, as you were talking about that, a story came up a few months ago. I was visiting New York. My nieces live there. And I had gone out with my 3-year-old. We had gone for a walk. And on the way back, I have a tendency to get lost. I call it temporarily displaced, but whatever. So she says, you know, this isn't the way home. And she's absolutely right. At 3, she knows that, like, clearly I'm lost. And I just remember saying, you know, there's more than one way to get home. And so it was kind of intriguing to her. She had never heard of anything like it. So along the way, I'm like, see, we wouldn't have seen that tree and we wouldn't have seen that. And so this whole journey, of course, I'm like, where the heck, how do we get back? But we did. Found it. She's like, oh, I see our house. I'm like, yes, see? So you need to let your parents know there's more than one way to get home. And of course, you know, she tells my brother and he's like, got lost. But the point is that there is more than one way to get where we're going. And I think we're so conditioned that there's only one path and one road and everybody has to be on the same road at the same time. That just creates a lot of traffic. You're not going anywhere, you know, it's this hamster wheel situation. And why not encourage our kids to find their gifts and their spark and travel those trails and be less concerned with where it's going to end, right? That's the ultimate fear that we have, is our kid going to keep up with everybody else? And I would actually suggest, you know, what if your kid takes a different road and actually goes ahead of everyone else? Yeah. Or what if they go at just the right pace for themselves, you know?
Yes. No, that's
I get the pressure. I really do. You know, we live in a city where it's very academically strenuous and everybody's keeping up with everybody else. But again, I go back to, who do you tuck in at night? You know?
Yes.
It really matters. Everybody is cut out for the same exact path.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think too, you know, as parents, we need to keep in mind that it doesn't matter how fast you get to whatever that end goal is in life, whatever their ability and their dream is, as long as they get there, right? So who cares who gets there first? Who cares how you get there? Like you said, I mean, there's so many different ways to get there. And do we want all of our kids to end up in the same place? No, right? Everybody cannot have the same.
And what is there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do we even define there? Like, my definition of there and my son's definition of there might not be the same there, you know? So, what about the fact that you actually have a human being involved here? Like, maybe they get a little say in where they're going, maybe.
Yes. No, I love that. And that brings up a whole nother idea in my mind, that as parents, we often have in our brains that we've mapped out our child's life, but our
Yeah.
child is not us. So
No,
their map
no.
and their
It's
destination is probably very different than what we have.
right. And I
So,
tell parents all the time, like, you've already done this. You've already gone through high school. You've already gone through college. You've already done it. You get to be on the sidelines. And if you really think you need a do-over, go back and do it again, but not, it has to do it their way,
yes.
right? This isn't your game at this point. It's theirs.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I love that because I think it's hard as a parent. You often are like, but I messed up this, or I wish my parents did this different. And so you're trying to relive all of that, but like your kid's not you. So they have a
Exactly.
little different.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes.
And before we wrap it up
Yeah.
today, I definitely want to ask, so I know that people will want to come learn more about you, Vibha, and about your resources. So what are some ways that people could reach out to you or learn more about what you have to offer?
Sure. So I'm on social media, Facebook and Instagram mostly, and the easiest way to find me is just with hashtag iParentPlus. They can always stop by my website. I have an upcoming positive discipline class that's launching in April. That'll be all online. So that might be a good resource. And I will actually share with you, I'll give you the link so that people can stop by and pick up their 5 keys to positive discipline. It's just a little infographic that can kind of just get your brain. I have some people that have put it up on their fridge just to remind them of
Yeah.
kind of some of the foundational points of positive discipline. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
No, that's wonderful. And I didn't get to ask you, so if people are interested in your positive discipline course, what to you, like, what is positive discipline? What does that mean? Because that can sound kind of like this
Ooh.
big idea.
Yeah, it's
Just a quick
yeah.
little
So yeah, so in a nutshell, really quick, positive discipline is a completely different way of looking at the parenting journey. As I mentioned, it's about the long term instead of the short term. There's no rewards and there's no punishment, which kind of throws people off because if there's no rewards or punishment, what are you doing? And it's really about empowering our kids and creating intrinsic behavior patterns through connection and through understanding and through really just treating them like human beings instead of people that we control. So it's a very different way of looking at parenting. It does take an open mind and an open heart. It gets a little controversial. We tackle things like homework battles and bedtime routines and mealtime hassles and all that type of stuff. But I think it's really been transformational for the people that have exposed themselves with an open mind.
Yeah, no, that sounds wonderful. It definitely sounds like more long-term parenting and helping your child grow as opposed to short-term, like they can only behave when we're around, right? Which is not our goal.
Right.
So that sounds like a great course,
Right.
Vibha. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
Looking
so
forward
much
to running
for,
it. Yeah.
yeah, and thank you for so much for your time today and for chatting. And I hope that our listeners can take away some little nuggets and try them out in their daily life with their kids. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for having me. It was great connecting with you.
Thank you.